Good evening. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Little. I'm the staff liaison for the Neighborhood Improvement Commission. And on June 16th, the recommendations for some funding for community and park improvements went to the City Council. There were 4 specific items that were set to benefit parks, and I'm going to go ahead and just go through them real quickly. One was $35,000 for some playground equipment at the Highland Otis Park. There was some older playground equipment that needed to be removed. There were some safety concerns, and so the park didn't have any equipment. $5,000 went for bottle filling stations at some parks where we had water. $5,000 was approved for the community garden at the park that we've been discussing this evening. And then there was $10,000 for a city tree program. This program is intended to help the future canopy of Seaside and to provide residents with a free tree that they could plant on their property. Now, what I'm going to be sharing with you are just some program ideas, and ultimately how this program is administered will depend upon the input from the Parks and Recreation Commission. So the initial idea is to have some kind of a media campaign outreach to generate some community interest. And I just put these in there as kind of just some questions about, if somebody would want a free tree for their yard. And then this is, like I said, an effort to increase our future tree canopy. And so the Parks and Recreation Commission, in partnership with the Neighborhood Improvement Commission, would provide a free tree to city residents to plant in their yard. The first thing that we would want to do is determine eligibility. So somebody would have to be a Seaside resident. Now, there's a couple of ways that this could be done. This could be managed through some kind of an online system where somebody could go in and they could put in their address. They could choose a tree variety. The varieties that have been discussed would be native species. And then they could go ahead and submit their request. And then this would go to a local nursery, and they would be given the location to pick up the tree. And one of the ideas was just to make the tree available for a certain period of time. So we didn't have trees that were sitting for a month for somebody to come pick them up. And then there would be some planning and tree care instructions. For example, we wouldn't want people planting trees under power lines, and it could be problematic if somebody were to plant a tree where it might shade a neighboring home's solar system. There would also be instructions about, caring for the tree. And that is it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, David, for your presentation. Any questions from the commissioner? Mr. Commissioner Daniels.
Thank you for the presentation. Would you be able to give some clarification on the $5,000 allocated to the community garden at Venezuela's Park?
Right. So the $5,000 was for the community. It was supposed to go toward the community garden, from what I understand. That's at the park.
Were those funds approved?
Pardon me?
Were those funds approved?
Yes, they were approved. And so they'll need to be encumbered before June 30th of 2023.
I apologize for the misclarification on my part. I was told that it was pushed over. If you could just give me some if you have the information, like clarity on how to access the funds, or like putting forth a plan on how to spend it, just so I know the steps moving forward.
You know, on that one, because this is this is city property, it'd probably end up ultimately going through our city engineer, Public Works, Nisha Patel. So I think that she could probably assist with that, but I'm the staff liaison for the Neighborhood Improvement Commission, so what I'm just presenting tonight is what funds were approved and for what. Now, as far as the actual spending of them, like I said, that would we would have to have our city engineer would probably have to be involved in that.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner? Okay. Commissioner Nielsen.
Thank you, David, for that idea of how to start a tree program. Some of the, I spoke with someone at the Watsonville Wetlands Watch today, and they have a tree program. I wonder if you've seen anything on their website about their tree giveaway program. And if not, I can share, well, I don't remember the website right now, but it's Watsonville Wetlands Watch. And they have giving away, they're giving away fruit trees for backyards and shade trees for front yards and public spaces. Like if there's a public space and on their sidewalk or out on the other side of the sidewalk or in a park or someplace. And they meet with in a park on usually a weekend for a morning, and they show people how to plant the tree. And they have trees available there. I don't know if that would be too much of a heavy lift to get the trees out to a certain area, because they grow their own trees. So probably, I don't know how that would work, but they have someone actually show them, you know, how to plant the tree and talk to them about how to care for it. And they sign up with an email, if they have email, and then they get newsletters and information about planting and care of trees. And I think it's really important, so we don't just give a tree away and hand them a piece of paper and say, here are your instructions and go pick up the tree. It's just kind of a disconnect between that. It just doesn't seem as important, and we need to have people feel like they're being supported in planting their trees. So I think I would love to talk to you about getting onto the website and looking at what is on their website. I actually printed out, they talk about the workshop giveaway, like this Saturday, the 24th at 2 p.m. at Kearney Park in Watsonville. Even one of us could go there and see what it's like, how they do this. And there's another one coming up Saturday, October 11th at the Wetlands Education Resource Center in Watsonville. Anyhow, those are some of my thoughts. I think it should, the other question I have is, I think it's really important to make sure that the community, all the community gets a chance to know about this. And I'm not sure if you have a media campaign in mind. And I know we're just at the beginning of talking about this, but if we're going to do it this year, which I think we have to, this fiscal year, is that not correct? Planting time is usually coming up in November, December, January, February. So it seems kind of important to get it finalized soon. Do you think we're going to be able to do that?
Right, well, I appreciate that input and the comments that you had. I do think that there could be a disconnect if we were just giving someone a piece of paper and a tree, and I think that we could we could have a YouTube video that's put together that people could watch for to help them with that. Another thing we wanted to be careful of, though, is we do have a municipal code that states that if you're going to be planting a tree within 5 feet of a public right-of-way, that you have to block the roots. And I think we wanted to be careful that we weren't having people put trees really close to the public right-of-ways because of the problems that can happen in the future with especially with lifted sidewalks and some of the damages that we want the trees, but they need to be responsibly placed. And so educating the public about that is going to be important too. There's probably going to be a lot of information that we want to provide, but ultimately, I think that this program could work in any way that that the city can support, and that the Parks and Recreation Commission can. The Parks and Recreation Commission is really supposed to take the lead on this program. This was something that from what I understand, the Neighborhood Improvement Commission wanted, that it was going to be something that was going to be kind of handed to the commission, and I think the NIC commissioners would be happy to help and participate. But how it ultimately evolves is going to be the insight and some of the direction from this commission. And so I think, yeah, it is very possible that we could put something together quickly. We do have a public outreach person that can be very helpful with getting information out, and I think the city can use all of our social media outlets to push the program and to create some community interest.
Okay, Commissioner Walton.
Thank you. Thank you, David. That was a great presentation. I think this is a fantastic idea. I love the idea of free trees. I'd like to have one for my yard. And I'm sure you all have already considered like the height of the trees so that they don't interfere with lines. I know I couldn't plant a tree in my front yard because it would immediately interfere with the electrical lines. But my real question is, how did you all come up with that $10,000 budget? I recently bought a lemon tree and it was $125. So I know we're probably going to get a wholesale price, but that's about 1,000 homes, and I don't know how many homes we actually have in Seaside, but I'm sure that's a very small percentage of them. So I'm curious about the budget. And then the second thing is this an ongoing program? Is it a one-time shot? Get your tree this year, you don't ever get it again. So I'd like some more information on that. Thank you. But overall, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you, and those are some great questions. I don't know exactly how the amount was determined. I think that would really be a question for the commissioners that came up with this and presented it to NIC, and then they unanimously approved that amount. The other question is, you know, we probably have somewhere around maybe probably about 7,000 homes if I were to guess. So we're talking about probably one out of, if we could get 1,000 trees, we're probably talking about one out of every 7 homes, which I think is would be pretty impressive. But I don't know. I think what it would ultimately be is kind of a first come, first serve until the funds are depleted.
Okay, at $100 a piece, it would be 100 homes. Commissioner Moulton.
You know, the other question, I'm sorry, you had one more question I didn't answer. My apologies.
It was
That it was going to
whether
be
or not it's
ongoing.
ongoing.
Yes, and there wasn't any mention of that, so I suppose it could be a future recommendation to the council, but at this time there wasn't any discussion about it being ongoing.
Commissioner Moulton.
Commissioner Nielsen has, like, you did the tree project this past fiscal year. Can you give us any indication of the budget we had for that and how many actual trees we got planted from that, please?
We had $4,000 and we planted under 40 trees. Right around there.
Thank you.
Do you have another, Commissioner Nielsen?
Hogging the scene here. I wonder, since it is for it's kind of for neighborhoods, all neighborhoods to benefit from this program, neighbors to benefit and to increase our overall tree canopy, which is a benefit and a win for us all. So if a steward of a park wanted to adopt a tree, can we put that, can we allow that to happen also? And do we decide that, or do you decide that?
David, if I can probably answer this one, David.
Thank
I
you.
think that we're in the process of coming out with the program, right? So like whatever the commission, if we want to work together and figure out what the policy and what the program is going to be, and then we will submit that to the city council for approval, then we can figure those little details out. Like nothing has really been flushed out yet.
Commissioner.
Dan is correct. These are program ideas.
Commissioner Gaines Lynch.
Hi, David. Thanks for your presentation. Wonderful. My question is, once the tree is adopted, then the homeowner is responsible for the pruning of the trees and making sure that the tree doesn't impair someone above them vision of the ocean or their scenic view? How is that done?
Right, so the tree would ultimately belong to the owner, or the resident. So the resident would be responsible for the tree. There was a period of time where the city did have a tree program where I believe Public Works went out and they had a crew that would come out and put a tree in someone's yard. One of the problems with that was people for decades afterward believed that the tree was the responsibility of the city. And they were calling, years and years after the tree had been planted to tell the city that they need to come out and take care of their tree that's in their yard. Well, we don't want to get the city in that kind of a situation where someone believes that a tree in their yard, because the city planted it, or because the city, it came through some kind of a program with the city, that the city is responsible for that tree in perpetuity, for its care and maintenance for the life of the tree. No, this is to provide trees that residents can have in their yard, where they don't, maybe in areas that are a little bit barren, where they don't have trees. And so they'll provide lots of benefit. They'll provide shade and just overall livability. Now, as far as blocking views and stuff like that, I don't know that I can really speak to that, because sometimes looking at a beautiful tree is just as great as looking at something blue in the distance. I don't know. Because it's all preference.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, we're gonna open this up for public comment.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please raise your hand or use the *9 feature.
Public comment is still open.
I'm not seeing anyone in the chamber or on Zoom.
Okay, public comment on this item is now closed. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Little.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I just want to also say that I have been working with Dave Fortune on this a little bit. So we're trying to figure out, trying to come up with some of the processes for obtaining the trees. And I know that he has reached out to some local, the local garden shops to see what they have on stock, what the process would be as we try and come up with some ideas for actually distributing the trees. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more information in the coming, meetings. One thing that we did talk about was to make sure that the trees were native, non-invasive, drought tolerant, and potentially or fruit bearing would be the types of trees that we were looking at distributing.
Thank you, Mr. Mullis. Okay, the next order of business is business item number 5C, which is discuss and consider having a special meeting in October 2022. And I'm going to speak to this because I can't emphasize how important it is for us to meet regularly on a monthly basis instead of having to call special meetings. I think we need to really consider going back to our regular monthly meeting schedule. And I'm really adamant about that. Anyone else?
I agree.
Commissioner Nielsen.
I think it's very important also. I think we get more just sussed out and discussed and our ideas across, just like with Nisha coming back to us tonight. If we hadn't met tonight, that wouldn't have happened. And we get to talk about things that we can't talk about the rest of the month. So I think they're very important also. Thank you.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion.
We'll need to get some clarification from the city clerk, because I'm not too sure if we go back to meeting monthly, if that's going to require a change of the ordinance. Because I believe when we went to quarterly meetings, we changed the ordinance at that time. And that's why we do the special meetings on a monthly basis. So if that's the case, I just need to confirm and get some information from her on that. If it is as simple as having the commission vote on it, then we can talk about it at the next meeting. But for the purpose of this agenda item, we'll need to set the meeting. You'll need to decide whether or not you want to have that special meeting, and I'll come up and see if I can, what the status is at that point.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to call for a special meeting in October.
I move that we have a special meeting in October. And I guess that would be the third Monday of October.
The 17th would be the third Monday.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to hold a special meeting in October 17th, 2022. All in favor? Do we need a roll call vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay, and we moved our tour of Seaside Parks to a later date. I just noticed something on our agenda, and we don't have any business item where we have our commissioner reports, our parks, and our recreation reports also.
So generally, the past practice has been is when we do the tours that we take those items off because we leave and then we come back, and sometimes it's hard to get everyone back. So that's why it wasn't on there this time.
Okay, well, I guess the next order of business is adjournment. So motion is
I move
always,
that we adjourn the meeting.
it's been moved to adjourn the meeting, and the motion to adjourn is always in order. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. This meeting is adjourned.